Blocking a play seems like an easy task, but blocking involves more than meets the eye. It is essentially the external view of the characters and play's interior life. Blocking can be behavioral, psychological, symbolic, metaphorical, punctuation, character work, and meaning. Therefore, blocking choices should be made with careful consideration and rely on the interpretation of the characters and script. Blocking is a term which refers to the precise movement and positioning of actors on stage. Generally, a director is the person who makes and communicates the blocking choices for the play. There are two reasons for this. Number one, the director has developed a specific concept or vision for the show and is the leader of the rehearsal process that is meant to realize the director's concept. And number two, the director is an outside eye that can best see how actors are arranged on stage in relation to each other and the set. Even though blocking is the director's job, many directors realize that actors come to the stage with skills and instincts that can be used when blocking the show, so sometimes actors contribute to blocking choices as well. It really depends on the director whether all of the show's blocking choices come from him or her, or whether the rehearsals are also organic and develop out of a collaborative effort between both director and actors. My philosophy about directing is that blocking is all about relationships, and good directors give actors or help the actors to make choices about the character while blocking the show. If an actor doesn't understand why he or she is moving, it's going to look and feel false to an audience. Using a character's wants to find movement, as you've learned, is obviously an effective way to focus on relationships and begin the process of believably blocking a scene. But there are some blocking rules that are also important to follow when tackling the task of blocking so that your audience can best see and understand what's going on. Of course, these are not hard and fast rules, not much on stage is, but as beginners, these rules may help you make stronger choices in blocking. First, avoid flat blocking. Instead, work off of angles when moving an actor from one part of the stage to another. When a character is moving, angles look more dynamic on stage, and flat blocking seems boring. Secondly, implement triangles when blocking. Just as triangles carry energy and intrinsic beauty when creating composition on stage, they do so with blocking as well. Look at triangular blocking possibilities on stage and in relation to your set choices. Number 3, generally actors cross downstage from furniture or other actors. You should do this because scenes behind furniture can make the characters feel distant and unrealistic. Keep crosses in front of objects on stage. Number 4, when two characters are speaking to each other on stage and the scene is shared, make sure both actors are on the same plane. Oftentimes, inexperienced actors don't realize when they're upstaging someone else. Look at your feet. Where are they facing? And where are they in proximity to the other character? Number 5, avoid over-blocking your scene. When actors are in continual movement back and forth, sit down, stand up, lie down, run off, all this movement without stopping, it typically doesn't carry much meaning or reveal character. Remember to focus on motivated movement. Only have characters move when they are motivated or have a reason to do so. If you don't, your scene will look busy and will seem like nobody knows what's really happening in the scene and what's really going on with the characters. Find out what the point of the line or moment is and try to show that with your blocking. Number 6, look for ways to create build in a scene through blocking. If it is an intense scene and you start out with the actors in each other's faces, you're leaving yourself little room for build, and the scene becomes one long stalemate. Instead, work to show the build of the scene through the blocking in the scene. Of course, each of these rules can be broken if there are better ways to show the relationship on stage. Again, let the relationships, who the characters are, what their relationship is to the other characters on stage, what they want from other characters, how they try to get what they want, etc. Let those things drive your blocking choices first and foremost. Many people don't realize all the layers of blocking that exist when staging a show. Since this unit is about learning not only how to act, but also how to have a director's eye, consider layering your blocking rehearsals in this order. First, take note of and work through the obligatory blocking. This is the blocking that the scene demands, the entrances and exits and the playwright's notes. Things like answering a phone or walking to a window may be things that are written in the script, but how the choices are made on stage should be decided upon. Remember, you don't always have to follow the blocking written in the script. You can make your own choices if you want. Next, look at the basic blocking patterns. These patterns should communicate basic ideas about the scene. For example, in a love scene, the characters could begin far apart and then get closer together as the scene progresses. Remember, this also physically shows the build of the scene. With basic blocking patterns, it's helpful to first determine the scene's climax and where the characters may be in relation to each other in that moment. Then work through the rest of the blocking and make sure you build to that climax moment. Remember, let your characters' wants, obstacles, and tactics help you make blocking pattern choices. Another trick if you're uncertain about how to make choices in the blocking patterns of a scene is to find the actors' positions at each beat change and then fill in the rest. This will also help you to see whether or not you've physically created build in the scene. Now, of course, all blocking patterns are dependent on your set. Obviously, the objects placed in your environment on stage will impact your blocking choices, so be sure to make strong choices for what furniture pieces you'll be using in your scenes and where they can best be placed for the flow of the scene. Keep in mind that compositional rules for blocking also apply for furniture in a space. Here's some basic tips that might help you get started. First, try to keep furniture pieces on an angle, as straight lines generally look very flat on stage. Secondly, don't move chairs or couches up against a back wall. This will also flatten the scene. But more importantly, it limits blocking possibilities because everything has to be played in front of the furniture, which isn't always pretty and often upstages other actors. Third, create enough distance between furniture pieces for crosses in actor movement. If everything is smooshed together on stage, it leaves little room for movement and build in your scene. Learning to interact with and move in relation to other things on stage is important when blocking a scene or show. For this reason, directors never start the rehearsal process for a show without knowing the design of the set and what furniture or objects will be in it. Of course, the cast doesn't work with the actual set until the production week, but the set is still represented in the rehearsal space so that the actors know exactly what they're working with, and so that the director can better block the show. Generally, a scale drawing of the set, as if seen overhead, known as the ground plan or set plan, is designed by a set designer, and the plan is taped out on the floor of the rehearsal space. Sometimes model sets to scale are also constructed by the designer to give the actors and director a better feel for the set they will have for the performance. Any furniture placed on the set is also used during rehearsals so that the rehearsal process closely mimics the actual performance space. Furniture plans are drawings that show where the furniture is placed on the set. You may want to consider making your own furniture plan when you begin working on scenes in class. Next, detailed blocking is the final stage in the blocking of a scene or a play. This is where you add your individualized score of physical actions. These are details, small movements, and stage business that will add to your scene and characters. Stage business is when an actor is doing something on stage other than crossing that adds believability and realism to a character. Let me give you some examples. In Arthur Miller's drama The Crucible, John Proctor, a Puritan farmer of Salem, Massachusetts, comes into the common room of his house after a long day of planting in the fields. He puts down his shotgun, goes to the fireplace, swings the pot out, lifts the ladle to taste, is not pleased, so he adds some salt. He then goes to wash his hands and face, and then goes to the table to sit down. John begins to eat. That's an example of stage business. Another example, in Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley, 30-year-old Lenny McGrath comes into her kitchen carrying a brown paper bag. Saddened because everyone's forgotten her birthday, she pulls out a package of candles from the bag, retrieves a cookie from the cookie jar, takes a candle from the package, tries to stick it in the cookie, and then finally sings Happy Birthday to herself. In On Golden Pond by Ernest Thompson, Norman Thayer is in his 60s and he arrives at a summer cabin in Maine. Slowly and lovingly, he rediscovers the covered furniture, family photographs, and layout of the room. In The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams, Laura Wingfield, an extremely shy girl, is entertaining a gentleman caller at dinner. Laura's mother is anxious for her to impress the young man favorably. Suffering acutely from her shyness, Laura becomes sick at the table, and she is forced to retire into the living room where she escapes into a dream world by playing with her collection of glass animals. In A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams, Blanche Dubois, nervous and exhausted, comes to visit her sister in New Orleans. Finding no one home when she arrives, she lets herself in, explores the apartment, searches for liquor, finds some whiskey, and takes a drink to quiet her nerves. All of these examples show stage business by the characters described. Sometimes stage business is scripted, and sometimes it's not. Either way, stage business adds another layer to the scene and gives the scene and characters depth, while often revealing meaning in the scene as well. Now that you've learned the process of blocking a scene and some of the layers that give depth to a scene, you have the tools needed to block your own scenes. Good luck as you work to make strong blocking choices and create believable relationships on stage.